everybody. Welcome to another super special episode of PAR Meet the Artist. My name is Pali. I'm the host of the show. Welcome to Power Ace Radio. And if I get my guests to please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and we know you're an artist, but tell us what you do, please.
Sure. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for having me for this interview and everything. My name is Aaron Watson, and I'm a saxophonist. I also sing a little bit, and I teach students, and I'm a mentor for the county that I'm in. And I just love spreading music and spreading knowledge and education and whatnot.
Really, really cool. I like that. I like the fact that you said you also teach. So maybe I'll be coming to you for some lessons. Oh, let's take that back for now. So, how did music first enter your life? Was there a defining childhood memory or?
Ah, yes. So the way that I got introduced into music was through the Marching 100 here in Tallahassee, Florida, actually. So we have a school called Florida A&M University, which is where I got my undergrad from in jazz studies. And we have what's known as the world's greatest marching band called the Marching 100. And when I was just a baby boy, my father would take me out to practice with the band, to see the band practice and perform all of that stuff. And my father would also have me listening to music, old school music from like the 60s and 70s. And my mother would also play Caribbean music for my family and us on Sundays and whatnot.
So you were rooted deep into music. That's really, really cool. And
Yes, it was a lot.
super. And who were some of the first artists that you looked up to think, oh wow, someday I want to do some of this?
Well, I do know the very first artist that I really fell in love with was Ray Charles when I was a very little boy. My father had us watch his documentary, and I would watch the movie Ray. I don't know how many times I've seen that movie. I know as a kid I would watch it almost every month, literally, not even lying. And I also loved Stevie Wonder when I was just in like third grade. My parents asked me, what is it that you would like for Christmas this year? And funny enough, all I said was, I want a Stevie Wonder CD. So I'm only like 9 years old asking for this Stevie Wonder CD, and I didn't even name anything else. That's all I was asking for. That's all I wanted was the Stevie Wonder CD. And then once I started playing saxophone, the very first saxophonist that I loved was John Coltrane and Cannonball Adderley and, artists like that. And I also loved very much the elements, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh wow, wow. I would just like some great, yeah, there's some great artists who have, grown up
Yes.
with. It shows how diverse your music is, and you've learned from different aspects of it. And I've got to ask about saxophone. So that's one of my favorite instruments ever. I feel you're giving a part of your soul, like a part of the same air that's keeping you alive. When
Yes.
you hear some saxophonists and they breathe, you like, guy, you have to breathe. You're gonna pass out. There's so and passion, man. So what drove you to saxophone rather than any other music, any other instruments?
Well, the saxophone was honestly something that I got introduced to when I was 11 years old. Um, I had went to, I won an essay contest where the government of Florida, he was willing to award me with a scholarship. And so at the ball where we were receiving our awards, he had a jazz band there performing. And I was just glued on the saxophonist. That's all I was glued on the entire time. And they're handing out the rewards and everything. And my father's coming up to me saying, "Hey man, they're calling your name up. You gotta go up." And I just tell him I want to play that. And he's like, okay, buddy, we'll get you one. And I said, okay, but I want to play that. And that summer, my parents bought me a saxophone, and I started moving into saxophone world from then on.
That's really, really cool. You're somebody that knows what you want, and you just like, yep,
Yes.
that's it. That's really good. I like that. Commend you for that. And
Thank you.
your sound fuses jazz, soul, reggae, and funk. How did all this fusion come about? How do you create things from that?
Hmm. Well, to be honest, the soul music was always inside of me, considering the upbringing with Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles and all of that stuff, so the soul was always there. And then as far as jazz, I mean, it really depends on what anyone wants to identify as jazz. But really and truly, whenever I went into sixth grade, my mother told me there's a jazz band at the school. And Professor Rodney Jordan over at Florida State University, he accepted me into this jazz band when I honestly didn't really know anything, but he was willing to take me under his wing and teach me how to play jazz and everything. And from then on, I was into this world of jazz. And as far as reggae, honestly, my mother is the one that's responsible for all of that. She refused to have her children grow up. She's from Barbados, and she refused to have her children grow up without knowing Caribbean music and Caribbean art and all of that stuff. And I love the soca, I love the Caribe, I love the Afro music, I love all of that stuff. But somehow my heart and everything really geared into that reggae sound and whatnot. And as far as funk music, I mean, once I got older and I was playing stuff and I got introduced to more music and whatnot, I mean, funk was just something that a lot of people was paying some good money for. And it honestly was very fun, and I'm a lover for having fun. So, somehow the music just blends all of these elements together, and so does my show when I perform.
It's really, really cool. It's like literally the music molded you. That's cool. I
Yes.
like that. Thank you. And if someone is hearing your music for the first time, what track do you think best captures Aaron Watson?
I would say I do have two of them because it really depends on which side you're trying to go on as far as me singing or just me playing. So I have a single out called This Life, and that song right there is a song that I wrote with my mentor in college, and we just would get together and just write music a lot and whatnot. And that song has a lot of the reggae feel, but then the rock and soul type stuff going on and whatnot. And then my other single is called Mind Over Matter. And that's another one where me and my mentor, we would just get together and we would just write. His name was Baba Olu Shegun, and we would just write music all throughout my time at Florida A&M University down inside of his attic. It was called the Bottomless Pit, and we just would get together, jam, and play music and sing.
Mm. Oh, wow, that's really, really cool. So, okay, out of these two, gotta kind of say you have to pick one. And if this person listening for the first time, since if you want to do a little kind of a cappella, just give it a little snippet of the song.
Okay, okay. We'll do Mind Over Matter since that one actually has some words in it, and I don't really have my saxophone handy right now. So, Mind Over Matter, let's see, it starts off with me saying, things are going on each and every day. Am I losing my mind? I can't find a way. Up don't mean up no more. Down really means you hit the floor. Up don't mean up no more. Down really means you hit the floor. I can't stand to see my people crying, and I don't want to see my people dying. Mind over matter. I've got to be strong, and there's some more to it.
That's really, really beautiful. You just took me away there. I'm like,
I saw your head nodding, and I saw you jamming.
That's really great. Being a saxophonist and then having a great voice like that. Good combination. You go in places. Thank you for that
Thank
number.
you. Thank you.
And do you usually start a new song with lyrics or a sax riff or the rhythm?
Well, to be honest, It really it really just depends on the song. I would start off singing and then play. Sometimes I would play and then sing. It's just I read my audience and I try to figure out what it is my audience wants and how I can communicate to them. And a lot of times it's a spiritual thing, what God delivers to me and what God tells me to do, and I just do that, and I deliver all of this to my audience and to the world. And that's how I try to make the track through all of the music and whatnot.
Nice. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And kind of so you got an upcoming EP called Roots of Renewal. Is that right?
Yes, yes, Roots of Renewal. That's the
So
EP that
that's
we're trying to work on.
yeah, because it sounds deep, that title. So can you give us the story behind it, please?
Well, this happened in a period of let's say a lot of this music that I wrote and that I'm going to record is it I wrote it in a moment of my life where lots of changes were happening. Every single song it was written whenever I was going through a hard time, going through a great time, or I was in the phase of changing and turning my life around. And so all of these songs are basically songs that should be able to communicate to people and bring human beings into a new light into their life and whatnot. Like even my song, the third single that I released called Come Together, even that song was written whenever my grandfather passed away. And that was my very, very, very first time losing someone in my family like that. And I was just going through a new time of adjustment, and I was young too. So I was learning how to deal with death essentially, and all of the other music, like I say, was written when I was in a transition phase of either becoming a better professional, becoming a better artist, learning how to cope with people and deal with people and communicate with people. So it's all spiritual growth, if you will, So that's what the album will essentially speak to people and communicate to people.
Really beautiful, really, really great. Can't wait to hear it. So when is it coming out?
This should be coming out inside of the summer of 2026. I released a few singles and whatnot this year so that I can allow people to get a taste of what the music is and what they're going to be expecting and whatnot. And then I'm going to go on ahead and get these last few songs recorded and whatnot. And in 2026, we're taking off.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Can't wait. 2026 sounds like a vibe.
Yes.
And so for the ones that are out at the moment and people obviously want to find out more about you, what are your social handles?
All right. Well, if you go on my website, Aaron Watson the third, AARON WATSON you'll be able to find all of my social media, all of the news, my schedule of where I'm performing at, you'll be able to see everything, the pictures and videos, all of that stuff. On Facebook, if you just type in Aaron Watson saxophone or Aaron Watson the third, you should be able to see me pop right up, you know. And the same thing for Instagram, so we're all out here trying to make things happen and trying to spread stuff to this world.
That's really, really great. And through music is the way we can do it. We say unity through music. So our slogan goes,
Yes.
we're global unity through music. Because that way we can break all these separations, this segregation. So thank you to you guys, the great artists out there bringing it.
Thank
Um,
you.
so and we know you've done so much. What is been the proudest moment of your career so far?
Ooh, wow, that's a hard one because I'm proud of a lot. I'm proud and thankful and blessed for everything that I get to do. I would say, okay, I'll be honest. One of the most proudest things that I am proud of that has happened recently was I got to do an interview for a TV show in Barbados that was allowing me to basically spread to the Barbadian and Caribbean people of what I'm doing and how far I've came and whatnot. And that interview was, I mean, that was special because my grandfather, he played saxophone, and I found this out at his funeral. I went my whole life and I didn't even know he played saxophone. And, a lot of people actually are musicians and artists in Barbados, even if they do other things. There's a lot of art that comes out of that island, and being able to spread to my family, my culture, my people, and knowing that my grandfather was able to see something like this through heaven, and just to know that I've made it that far it was just something that really touched my heart. And it wasn't even, I mean, it had to do with music, but it didn't have anything of me playing or any of that stuff. It was just something that I achieved, and I know my mother was happy, my grandmother was happy, my aunties and my uncles and cousins was happy. This was a moment that really spread some positivity, and that was amazing to see. As far as performance, I would say that performing with George Clinton was hey, that was the thing right there, man. You know, I was buzzing on that for like 3 months straight because he just has such a high energy performance. So performing with George Clinton, that was a very huge step in my career, man, because that was, whew, yeah, can't even put it into words.
That is a true pinching moment where you're like, hey, is this for real?
Yes, yes, like, oh man, what's going on here?
Well, that's really, really great. And now that the international doors are opening, um, what's the dream festival or city or country that you like to perform in?
Oh man, if I'm 100% honest, I want to make it over to the UK. I recently, like a year ago, 2 years ago, I discovered this band called Ezra Collective. Ezra, Ezra Collective. And this band knocked my socks off. And I followed all of the music that they were releasing and whatnot. And I realized this band, they they do almost any and everything, man. It was such an amazing thing that they did. And when I watched how much they performed around the UK and around the world, I realized everyone, especially over there in the UK, they love this music and accept them. And these guys, they don't even have to sing in order to get the people to dance and jump around and stuff. So I was like, whoa, okay, I got to make it over there some kind of way because they doing some music over there.
Ooh, that's
Yes.
exciting stuff. Well, more than welcome. We'll be there to jump around. That's what we do.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with y'all, man.
Nice, nice. And so, if you could collaborate with any artist, um, whether they're dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Uh, if I'm honest, hmm, I would have to say that I would want to collaborate with my favorite Cannonball Adderley because I didn't even know that he did stuff outside of swing and hard bop and bebop jazz. Like I recently discovered an album where he was playing Latin jazz, and I discovered another album where he was playing fusion and kind of like funk and stuff. So I was like, this guy can do any and everything. And I just can't imagine the knowledge that would be spread into me and how much wisdom he would be able to give me if we were to be able to just have this one moment of collaboration together and just, even if it doesn't get recorded on a CD, like just a performance or something, like I can't imagine just how much he would feed into me as an artist. And to hear him play some Caribbean, some fusion, some soca, some reggae, some stuff like that. That would just be amazing to hear and amazing to be a part of.
Sounds exciting, keep speaking into existence. This is just it, anything can happen, right?
Yes, yes, by the grace of God.
By the grace of God. And let's just go into kind of like your community and kind of mentorship. You've worked with young musicians in schools. Why is mentoring so important to you?
Well, all right. Whenever I was in sixth grade and I first started off in jazz band with Professor Rodney Jordan, one day he had a speech to give to us, and I was still probably 11 years old at this time. And he said to us, you all have to understand, music is like a everlasting torch, and this torch is carried by all of the greats. And when we come and we teach and we try to feed into the youth, this is essentially us slowly but surely reaching behind us and passing the torch. And granted, when we pass you your torch, it might not be a huge fire like ours, but you still got a little fire lit inside of you. And it's our job to constantly reach back and pour more and more into your fire to ensure that this torch stays lit. And if we consistently do this, then music will always and forever exist, no matter what. And it's kind of just something that I owe to the world because there's tons of musicians and artists that has fed into me for either little to nothing or no pay at all. It was just like they just wanted me to be great. And so they would teach me, they would come out to my school and teach me and whatnot. And they wouldn't even charge the school or anything. They would just want to come and spread their knowledge to us. And so I also kind of owe it, not even kind of, I also owe it to the world to feed into the youth and the younger generation of art and music and the potential that they have and what they can do if they take this thing serious and really invest into their artistic side, you know?
That's really, really cool. I like that story. And
Mhm.
let's kind of dig into it a bit more. So that's something that's passed down to you. What's one lesson that you always try and pass on to students or for the people that are listening right now feeling empowered to pick up the saxophone?
The one lesson that I do teach all the time, and I said it, I was recently at a school and they were elementary school students, and I said it every single class period. I said this to them. I asked them, how long do you think it takes to master playing a saxophone? And of course, some students say a year, some students say 3 years, some students say 20, some students, they give all these different answers. And I remember being asked the same question whenever I was in uh, high school, into high school. And I honestly didn't have an answer, but the answer that was given was it takes a lifetime to master these instruments. Like, you don't master this thing until you die or until you say, you know what, I'm satisfied with where I'm at now. But even if you're satisfied with where you're at, you can still go further in life. And so I tell my students I'm now currently 18 years in of learning how to play saxophone, and I'm still learning. It's not even like I'm done yet. I still study. My teacher right now is Marshall McDonald. He's over in Japan, and he's the former lead alto player for the Count Basie Orchestra. Frank Foster handpicked him specifically, who was the leader of the Count Basie Orchestra. And so Marshall right now, Mr. McDonald, I apologize. He's the one that's currently lighting my torch, pouring into my torch to make this flame bigger, and he's no different from all of my other mentors who really loved and cared about me. And right now, he's honestly one of the top, one of the best that I've ever had. And so what I say is just keep going and don't quit. And don't think that it just happens spontaneously. This thing takes forever to master.
Well, yeah, I'm staring at my saxophone like, okay, we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, you can pick it up today, man. It's never too late.
He said, oh, that's a sign. There's a sign somewhere. Gonna pick you up, saxophone.
Yes.
And how do you balance being a performer, a student and a teacher all at once?
I will be honest, it's very, very hard, but one thing I learned in grad school whenever I went to get my master's degree at Florida State was time management. Like I put everything inside of a calendar that I have, and if it's not on the calendar, I will forget. So I make sure to put everything in the calendar, no matter what it is. And so I go by the calendar every single day. And that way I have a structure and a way to just say, okay, my lesson is on this day. I have to be prepared by then. My lesson with my students are on this day. I have to communicate with the parents and I have to be ready to teach by then. I have a performance on this date. I have to know all of the music by this date. So it's kind of like a very well in advance planning that happens so that I can ensure that everything is happening.
That's the great, great, great advice. Only started doing that kind of almost religiously myself. So otherwise, it just doesn't work any other way, does it?
Yes, yes.
It's great, great advice. And so, as we're kind of wrapping up, just want to ask, like, in your view, what role does music play in community building?
Ah, so in my opinion, music is something that brings people together, and music is supposed to actually lift people up, and it's supposed to create a create an atmosphere where people are happy and spreading happiness to each other. So the role of music is supposed to build a community and create happiness inside of a community. It shouldn't it shouldn't create negativity and drama and confusion and all that types of stuff. It should strictly build a community, not tear it down. That's what music should do.
Definitely, I definitely support that answer. Unity for music, we say again. And
Yeah.
as a quick wrap up, I have this round called quick fire round.
All right.
So, so the first one is, what's the first song that you performed live?
The very first song I performed live was on my saxophone was Freddie the Freeloader.
Really nice. And for you, is it tea, coffee, or something stronger before a gig?
I would much rather tea.
Nice.
I love tea.
Awesome. You fit right in England.
Well, perfect.
So, is this saxophone solo or vocal riff? If you have to pick one.
Saxophone. Saxophone. All the way.
And do you prefer vinyl or streaming?
I would prefer, you said radio or streaming?
Vinyl, like so, or something
Ah,
physical or something
oof.
digitized.
Ah, that. Okay, when I was a kid, I would prefer vinyl. With the world that we live in, I would prefer streaming because everyone can have access to it if it's online and it's somehow streamed. Everyone.
Absolutely. It's easily digestible as well as accessible all over the place.
Yeah.
Great. And do you prefer reggae groove or funk groove?
Oh, reggae. Reggae. That's where the peace and the smooth vibe and the Caribbean, my roots and my culture is.
Oh, and this next question, that if your music were a dish, what would it taste like?
I would say it would taste like oxtails, bean soup, and macaroni and cheese with a sweet tea on the side and collard greens.
The whole shebang, as we call it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what do you want to describe your 2025 so far?
Growth, a lot of growth, because my spirit is just uh, an entire different thing right now. Once I graduated, I grew into a different human being. Whenever I explored the world after graduation, I was a different human being. Whenever I released my music, I was a different human being. And once Marshall McDonald came into my life, I'm a different human being. And every last bit of it created growth in my life and made me a better person.
That's great. That's great. And I just want to extend that a little bit. That when people walk away from your music, whether it's a live show or streaming the track, what do you hope they feel?
I hope they feel a sense. I hope that every single person that listens to this music feels a sense of love. That's really what I want. I know that I say love, peace, and happiness a lot, but really and truly, just that sense of love is what's needed when you hear this music. I loved my grandfather, and I still do. I love him so much, and that song, "Come Together," was written through nothing but love. Mind Over Matter talks about nothing but love, and the same thing for this life. It was written through a group of musicians, and the melody, whenever I wrote it, all of us were together, and it was just a group of people that loved each other a lot. And every last bit of it is just love.
Mhm. That's really, really beautiful. Can't wait for the EP, but for now, we're going to stream those ones and find out more about what you got. Um, so any closing remarks for the viewers?
Sure. Let's say that we should all continue to spread love, peace, and happiness. We should all continue to love God or whatever higher power you believe in, and ensure that we lead the youth to live their life through love so that we can have a better world tomorrow and the next day and the next month and the next year.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. I'd just like to say, thank you so much. Coming on the show, it's been really, really amazing. So be
Thank
there
you.
to go and follow, Aaron, Aaron, Watson, Watson, the third. So that's our I, the website
Yes.
and everywhere, literally everywhere. And we can't wait for, the EP next year. But I'm sure we'll be back again for another episode of this. But until then, been
Thank you.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you so much for having me, man.
More music variety on Power Ace Radio.